like to welcome you all to our last performance of this show. Real quick, can I urge you all to please turn off your phones because it gets our lights difficulties. We're actually going to do a quick demonstration for you. Hey, Hannah, isn't this show gonna be great? Done, said. So please, airplane mode or just turn them off completely. Either one would be awesome. I'm doing that now myself. Alrighty. So, that's all I've got to say, so I'm going to hand it over to this little girl right here.
Without further ado, we give you Sweeney, Todd, and the String of Pearls.
Mr. Sweeney, Todd, you are brought forth this day in this courtroom of Bailey Hall accused of the most heinous crimes ever perpetrated against the citizens of London. We've heard a great deal of testimony against your person, with precious little presented on your behalf. According to the statutes of the King's Law, you are hereby granted the opportunity to speak in your own defense. Do you so choose, Mr. Todd, to indulge in said opportunity?
Well, of course, sir. I never pass up an opportunity to indulge. Allow me to clarify. It is not my intent, Your Honor, to summon any defense of my actions. They speak for themselves and have been well documented in this court. However, permit me to illuminate but a few details of my past experiences, at the end of which I shall heartily relinquish my involvement in these and all other proceedings. When I was a boy, my father fell prey to the far-reaching tentacles of this insatiable and monstrous appetite that today marks the city of London in the year of 1785. When he abandoned us, my mother, destitute, became a whore, servicing those wealthy aristocratic gentlemen so far removed from the city squalor and, over time, establishing a fair reputation among them. Within 2 years, she became syphilitic and died a short time thereafter. Being thus orphaned with no other family members nor guardians, I was placed in the children's wing at Newgate. Like my mother, I too was consumed throughout my tenure there, though without recompense of any sort. I was trained to provide haircuts and sometimes shavings for the others in my ward, and thus it happened that when I finally became of age and was released, I was able to set up my own practice. Gradually, I earned a certain degree of notoriety as a reputable barber, quiet, capable, skilled in my trade. The years passed, my clientele increased, and I began to find myself in need of additional help. I have, in my time, graciously offered a number of apprenticeships to fortunate boys, those willing to meet the most basic of requirements. You will remember, Tobias Ragg, that you are now my apprentice, and that you have with me had board, washing, and lodging, with the exception that you do not sleep here, that you take your meals at home, and that your mother, Mrs. Ragg, does your washing, which she may very well do, being a laundress in the temple and making no end of money. And as for lodging, you will stay here, you know, quite comfortably in the shop all day. Now, are you not a happy dog?
Yes, sir.
You will acquire a first-rate profession, one quite as good as the law, which your mother tells me she would have put you to, except that a little weakness of the headpiece disqualified you. Now, listen to me, Tobias, and treasure every word I say.
Yes, sir.
I will cut your throat from ear to ear if you mention one word of what passes in the shop, if you dare to make any supposition, draw any conclusion based on what you see or hear or fancy you see or hear. You understand me?
Yes, sir. I won't say nothing, as I may be turned into veal pies at Lovett's if I so much as say a word.
Good. I am satisfied. Quite satisfied. And mark me, the shop, and the shop only, is your place.
Yes, sir.
And if any customer gives you a penny, you may keep it, so that if you get enough of them, you may become a rich man. Only, I will take care of them for you, and when I think that you want them, I will let you have them.
Thank you, sir.
But look sharp, boy. Our first customer approaches. Good morning, sir. Good morning. I suppose you want to be shaved. This will let you come here. There isn't a shaving shop, although I say it, in the whole city of London, that ever thinks of polishing anyone off as I do.
Indeed so, sir.
But tell me, I've not seen you around these parts before. Who are you? Where do you come from? And where are you going?
My name is
Lieutenant Thornhill. I have just returned from an expedition to India. And as for the rest, since you are so fond of asking questions, answer me one.
Yes, of course. What is it?
Do you know of a Mr. Oakley who lives somewhere in London and is a spectacle maker?
Aye, to be sure I do. John Oakley, spectacle maker. Lives over on 4th Street with his nag of a wife and beautiful daughter, name of Joanna.
Ah, poor thing.
Why poor?
I spoke of my recent voyage to India. On that same ship sailed a young boy to whom young Joanna was betrothed. How he used to go on about her during the long night watches. I could almost see her sometimes as he told me of her soft, beaming eyes and her gentle, pouting lips and the dimples that played about her mouth. But it's no use grieving. He is dead and gone now, and the salt water washes over as brave a heart as ever beat.
'Tis pity to be sure, but death comes to us all, Lieutenant, with but little recompense.
Yes. His sweetheart, though, shall have a string of pearls for all of that.
String of pearls?
How the poor young sailor ever came by them in the first place, we never knew. But they have been entrusted to me, and if she cannot be his wife in this world, at least she can be rich and happy until she meets him along.
And you carry these pearls with you now?
Why, of course, for I must deliver them to Miss Oakley as soon as we are done here, now that I have found her address.
Yes, you'll see it at once over on 4th Street. Tobias, my boy, go to Leaden Hall Market and fetch a small basket of the thick biscuits from Mr. Peterson. Say they are for me.
Yes, sir.
Now, where have I put my strop? I recollect, I took it into the parlor. Sit still a moment, sir. You can amuse yourself with the courier by the by.
Joanna? Arabella, I have kept you waiting. No matter, you are here now. Thank you for coming. Why, Joanna, you so seldom call upon me that I must esteem it a very special act of grace and favor to see you.
Arabella, I do not know what you will say to me when I tell you that my invitation to you is because I am in a difficulty and I want your advice.
You surprise and alarm me by your serious countenance, Joanna.
The subject is a serious one. My love.
Of that I am afraid I know but little, my friend. But why so distraught? You do not mean to tell me that it is possible for you to love a man without his loving you in return.
You are right there, Arabella. I did not need you to come here to speak of a hopeless passion. Far from it.
My Joanna, what is it?
It is the 20th day of August. It is. I thought I could have controlled this, but I cannot.
My dear Joanna, what is this? What has happened and what is it being the 20th of August?
Lend me your serious attention, Arabella, and you shall hear. It was on this day, 2 years ago, here in these very gardens when I last met Mr. He had just come back from a stormy interview.
Of what nature?
Of his future profession. He had met with his uncle in his garden. The two quarreled furiously. Mr. Grant wanted to make a lawyer of him, you see, but Mark would hear nothing of it. He abhorred the very idea of a profession in the temple.
Mark. In Jestry.
At length he told me that he must go and seek his fortune, that fortune which he hoped to share with me.
And what next?
He told me that he loved me.
And you believed him.
You would have believed him had you heard him speak. There are times and seasons when we know that we are listening to the majestic voice of truth, and there are tones which sink at once into the heart, carrying them with conviction, which neither time nor circumstance can alter. Such were the tones in which Mark and Jestry spoke to me.
Does your father know?
He knew us only as friends and frowned even upon that. Arabella, father and Mr. Grant are very old and dear friends.
Oh, Joanna.
Mark and I made an agreement on this precise day 2 years ago that he was to come to me or send to me news of his whereabouts. If I heard nothing from him, I was to conclude that he was no more. And I cannot help so concluding now.
But the day has not yet passed.
I know it has not, and yet I rest upon but a slender hope. And now, Arabella, you know all I have to tell you. You know how truly I have loved, and how after teaching myself to expect happiness, I've met with nothing but despair. You may judge for yourself how sadly the fate of Mark and Jestry must deeply affect me, and how lost my mind must be in all kinds of conjecture concerning me.
My dear Joanna, I never expected to hear from your lips so sad a tale. This is most mournful. Though I was half inclined to quarrel with you for this tardy confidence, for this is the first I'm hearing of this affair. Misfortunes that oppress you are sufficient enough without my adding to them a shadow of any reproach.
I will own I did hesitate to inflict upon you my miseries.
But did you think so little of our friendship that it should be entrusted only with what bore a pleasant aspect? True friendship is surely best shown between encounters of difficulty and distress. I grieve, Joanna, indeed, that you have so much mistaken me.
Nay, now you do me an injustice. It was not that I doubted your friendship for one moment, but that I did indeed shrink from the shadow of my sorrows over what should be and what I hope is the sunshine of your heart. That was the respect which deterred me from making you aware of what I suppose I must call this ill-fated passion.
Not ill-fated. Let us believe that the time will come when this will be far otherwise than ill-fated.
But what do you think of all that I have told you? Can you gather from it any hope?
An abundance of hope, Joanna. You have no certainty of the definite destiny.
Miss Joanna Oakley? I am Joanna Oakley.
How very curious.
Indeed. For news of Mark and Jestry, come to the Temple Gardens 1 hour before sunset. And do not fear addressing a man who will be holding a white rose in his hand.
Joanna! He lives! He lives! It is daylight now and sunshine compared to the black midnight of despair. Mark and Jestry lives, and I shall be happy yet. You will go?
Of course I will go. The white rose is an emblem of his purity and affection, and that is why his messenger carries it. I will go. 1 hour before sunset. Aye, 2 hours before sunset. Perchance he returns to tell me how he can make me his, and that no obstacle can now interfere to frustrate our union. Oh, that this messenger had come but yesterday! What hours of anguish I should have been spared! But I will not complain. In the consciousness that I shall soon hear blissful tidings of Mark and Jestry, I will banish every fear.
Always, Joanna, an abundance